Hi, welcome to Keys and Conversations with Kalita. I am so glad to be back with you guys going over real estate and conversations related to real estate. Now, back right before Halloween, so it was almost November, I did injure myself. I dislocated my knee and I fell. I was on crutches. I couldn't walk. I couldn't work. I couldn't record. And so I have been gone because of this injury. And during this time, I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to discuss the benefits of owning your own home while you're injured. What would be the benefits of you owning your own property? So I have 10 talking points to talk about that because this is something that happens. No one expects to get injured. No one expects to get knocked down and have to take 4, 5, 6 months off, sometimes a year or better. But people get injured every day. They have strokes every day, heart attacks. They need medical attention, and things change, and they can change in the blink of an eye, and I know from experience. So we're going to talk about that today, and I hope that this will be helpful to you in making a decision if you're on the fence about buying a home or not. And again, I am Kalita Farver. I am a real estate agent in the Metro Detroit area. So I service the Southeast Michigan area. So if you're looking to buy or sell, you can contact me at KalitaSalesLuxury.com, and I'll be able to set up a consultation with you and we can go over all the details there. Okay? The first thing I want to talk about is stability in the housing market. What owning your own home provides you once you're injured. It provides you stability. If you're on a fixed rate mortgage, typically you have a set payment amount. Sometimes in the first year after home ownership, the taxes can't adjust it because that the county that which you live in will adjust your tax rate based on the last time the home was sold and move it to the current rate at which you purchased your home. So that could impact your mortgage payment, but typically if you have a good lender, they will talk to you about all of that, and a good real estate agent, we can estimate taxes so that doesn't impact you as drastically. But typically everything stays the same, so you can continue to have an affordable housing payment. It's going to be more predictable, especially with fixed rate. Now, if you're on adjustable rate, there's still some fixed rates and adjustable rates, but they also do fluctuate based on what you sign up for. But those are rare in this day and age, adjustable rate mortgages. They used to be very popular back in the day. Okay. And then two, your house becomes a financial safety net. Okay. So you have the option to do a HELOC to pull the equity out of your home. So say you've been living here for a while, you get injured, you need to cover your bills, some certain bills and things like that. You can pull the equity out of your home and then you can use that to take care of yourself, your medical bills, your family, a caregiver, whoever is necessary during that time to take care of you, because things will add up and they add up quickly once you're injured, especially the medical bills. And then your bills, because now you're not earning maybe as much or anything, depending on if you're self employed or not, then your home becomes a financial safety net where you can pull equity from and then you can borrow from to keep you comfortable during this time of injury. Okay? And the third thing we'll have, and I want to really go in depth with this, is you'll have more control over your living space. Certain injuries may require modifications, such as you may have to add handrails or a different kind of tub or shower, things of that nature. If you own your home, you can make those modifications. If you rent, those modifications are probably against your lease because you sign a lease. So you'll have to look at whatever your lease says and you have to follow the rules of that lease. It's going to be harder to actually modify a rental property versus modifying your home to meet the needs of your injury. Because every injury is different, it's hard to say exactly what you'll need or plan or predict for it. But the one thing that you can do is know that you can add modifications to your home in the event of an injury versus when you are renting. So that's one thing that you can do. Okay. Stability during your recovery. So, one thing owning your home can do is provide you stability during this time. So, say you are renting somewhere and you're living, you get injured, you can't work, you could go through the eviction process, or maybe you are able to make your payments, your lease comes up, the price goes up drastically, and now you have instability because you can't really afford to move physically or financially. Okay, because you have the physical limitations of moving as well. And then sometimes, and what's happened to some people that I've known, is that the landlord decides they no longer want to be a landlord and they sell the property, or they have some emergency they have come up, and then they sell that property or that asset. And then once they sell the asset, if you're on a month to month lease, they will ask you to leave. That's happened plenty of times, and they have to give you 30 days. So, in the event of injury, when you own your home, the benefit is you own it, so you can stay there. You won't have the instability of someone asking you to pay more or to leave or not to do modifications to the home. Or if you were to get behind, maybe you can get on some programs, but we'll discuss that a little bit later. Okay. Also, what owning your own home is, it can provide support for multi-generational living. So if you are in a one-bedroom apartment, it's just enough room for you. But if your grandmother falls ill or sick, you cannot move her into your one-bedroom apartment. If you have two bedrooms, hopefully if it's empty, you can move it into her. But if you own your own home, typically a home has at least two bedrooms. That's typically, unless you're in a condo, two or three bedrooms are the typical standard. So you should have the additional room in a home to house your grandmother, your mother, or anyone that you need to take care of for a temporary limited amount of time. And then you can always make alterations to change something into a bedroom if you need something on the first floor, or it needs to be a little more convenient, just depending on the injury. But you want to have the ability to take care of your grandmother or your mother or anyone in your family for that matter, because they will need a caretaker. And if you can be the caretaker, it's great for you to be able to be the caretaker of that person in your family. Okay. And then number six, owning a home builds long term wealth even during the hard times. So if you own your home and you've owned it for 20 or 20, 25 years, you may be close to paying it off. Well, you'll get to keep the house. Like I said, you could pull from the equity, and then once you're back on your feet and maybe you catch it up, you'll still own a home. Or in some cases, some people are living in a home passed down by their grandmother or their mother, and there's no mortgages or anything on the property. You just pay the taxes and insurance. In that case, that builds that long-term generational wealth that a lot of people look forward to having in their family. So you want to be able to build that long-term wealth by owning a home, because a lot of people think about, well, it's just me and use the home. A owned home can go generation to generation. It can stay in a family for years. It does not have to be sold or anything. It's really up to you and your family what you choose to do with that property once you own it. Okay. Then number seven, you may be able have the ability to generate income from the property. So maybe you can rent out a room, or you can allow someone to stay there while you're injured to offset your mortgage. Now you may not be able to do that again if you're in a one bedroom apartment, but if you are in a two bedroom apartment, you have an extra room and you try to sublet it, you have to get the approval from the landlord, who can say yes. Also, they can say no. If you own the home, it is your home. You can rent the room without asking anyone. And then you can earn that additional income if you need that to help you pay your mortgage. So that's something to think about when you're thinking about owning your home and when you're injured in the hard times. Okay. And then number eight, your environment can provide support for better healing. And so what you want to do is you just want to feel comfortable, okay? But I could say, I mean, that's a benefit, but either way it goes, I think a lot of people like to make their homes comfortable and have more comfort and healing. But just knowing that's your home, people tend to put more into what they own versus what they don't own. So that's the way I see that, is that if you own your home, you might spend a little extra to make it open concept, or you might spend a little extra on to get that kitchen island or granite countertops to make it feel more, because it's yours and you own it, and you know that even if you sell it, it has the potential to give you your return on investment. Then number 9, home ownership encourages emergency preparation. So when you do own your home, you kind of already pre-plan for emergencies. It gives you the freedom to do so, because one thing about owning your home, if you get a mortgage and then 20 years later you're still there, the mortgage hasn't really changed at all. So if your income has increased, you've been able to use that to provide a safety net for emergencies and situations that do come into place. And then you also have the stability of knowing, like, your family knows exactly where you are. You've been there for 20 years. You haven't moved. They can find you, locate you. They know what to do, and they know what your home looks like pretty much 9 times out of 10. So it just helps you to be prepared when you own your home, especially once you've been there for a longer period of time. And then also, and the last thing is that a home can create stability for you and your family. Okay, so that's just in general. But when you're injured, and like I said, if your grandmother owns her home and she gets injured, you can move into her home and help take care of her while she's injured or down temporarily. And so that's a benefit to home ownership versus renting. Okay. And a lot of people have benefits to renting too, but we're talking about in relationship to injury, because injury shakes things up a lot, and you just never know how long it's going to take for you to recover, and things change. You may get one diagnosis, just like I did, where I was told I would need surgery, and then I got another diagnosis after they did an MRI saying that I would need surgery. So my recovery time went to a few weeks to a few months, and it just happened so fast. So it took me out for a very long time. So I hope that this helps you make the decisions, prepare for things like this, and helps you if you're on the edge again about owning your own home. Until the next Keys and Conversations, it's been Kalita. I'll talk to you then.